Welcome back, listeners. It's the end of the year, and we're wrapping things up with a deep dive into New Year's traditions and resolutions around the world.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, should be interesting. We're taking inspiration from an episode of the Learning English podcast, which got us thinking about all the different ways people celebrate.
Yeah, it's called Celebrating New Year's, and I thought it was a pretty cool episode. A lot of interesting stuff in there.
For sure. So, our mission today is to kind of uncover some of those fascinating traditions and, maybe even discover some ways to enhance our own New Year's experiences.
Definitely.
Have you ever, stopped to consider how different cultures ring in the new year?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. The whole world is essentially hitting the reset button at the same time, but in such unique ways.
Right. And the podcast hosts, they actually shared some personal stories about their own family traditions, which I thought was really interesting.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
One of them talked about how much their family loves going to see fireworks displays.
And the other one talked about having those big family dinners, that quiet, cozy vibe.
Totally. And it's those little personal moments that connect to these larger cultural patterns.
It's true. And I think it highlights just how diverse those approaches to celebrating can be, right? Some cultures go all out with huge public events, while others focus on more intimate gatherings.
Exactly. Take Sydney, Australia, for example.
Oh, yeah, their fireworks show over the Opera House is legendary.
Right. Can you even imagine being in that crowd? The harbor all lit up, and then boom, the sky just explodes with color.
I mean, it's more than just a party, though. It's like a statement. Sydney really announcing its arrival to the new year in the most dramatic way possible.
That's a good point. It's like a symbol of their identity as a city.
Totally.
Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you've got Spain. They have this tradition of eating 12 grapes at midnight, one for each chime of the clock.
Oh, I've heard of that. It's supposed to bring good luck for the coming year, right?
Exactly. And I just love that visual, everyone frantically trying to stuff grapes in their mouths before the clock strikes 12.
Yeah, there's something so human about it, like this playful anxiety around fate and luck.
It's we know we can't actually control the future, but we still want to try, right?
Exactly. And that desire manifests in all sorts of interesting rituals and traditions across cultures.
I think it was in Japan where they have the tradition of listening to 108 temple bells at midnight.
Ah, yes. Each bell is supposed to purify you from a worldly concern.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about starting the new year with a clean slate.
It's so different from the fireworks and the grape eating, but it's just as powerful in its own way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that renewal doesn't always have to be loud and boisterous. Sometimes it's about finding that inner stillness and quiet reflection.
Yeah. Just letting go of the past year's burdens and embracing a fresh start.
Exactly.
It's interesting, though, that idea of cleansing and renewal.
Yeah.
It's something a lot of us crave as we head into a new year.
Definitely. Kind of like hitting the reset button.
Exactly. And that brings us to New Year's resolutions.
Oh, yeah. Those.
Okay. Be honest now. Have you already started thinking about your goals for the coming year?
Maybe.
Well, the podcast hosts actually talked about some of their aspirations.
Really?
Yeah, like reading more books.
Yeah, I always say I'm going to do that.
Me too.
Yeah.
And exercising consistently.
Yeah. Classic New Year's resolutions.
Right. It's funny how those themes always seem to pop up.
Yeah, it's like health, finances, learning new skills.
It's like a universal checklist for self-improvement.
Exactly.
But what I find really fascinating is the psychology behind resolutions.
Oh, for sure.
Why do we make them? And why are they so hard to keep?
Well, there's this thing called the fresh start effect.
What's that?
It's like a cognitive bias where new beginnings, like the start of a new year, trigger this sense of optimism and motivation.
I can see that.
So you're more receptive to change. But the challenge is actually following through, turning that initial enthusiasm into, sustained action.
Right, so it's not just about willpower then.
Not entirely. We tend to overestimate our ability to, change overnight.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that.
We set these huge, ambitious goals, but don't always consider the practical steps or the obstacles that might get in the way.
So true. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a fresh start.
Yeah, the podcast actually emphasized the importance of setting realistic goals and, focusing on progress over perfection.
It's so easy to fall into that trap of aiming for, a complete transformation.
Definitely. I think a helpful approach is to break those big goals down into smaller, more manageable steps.
No, that makes sense.
Something you can actually stick with.
Yeah, I like that. It takes the pressure off.
Exactly.
Speaking of learning, I thought it was really cool how the podcast brought up language
Oh
learning.
yeah, they suggested using the new year as a chance to improve your English skills.
Right, like learning a new word every day, or writing your resolutions in English for practice.
Yeah, I love that idea. It's a fun way to blend personal growth with language acquisition.
It's like learning doesn't have to be this separate thing. You can just incorporate it into your daily life.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe mastering a new language could open up some exciting opportunities in the new year.
For sure, like travel, new friendships, different perspectives.
Exactly. It's all about expanding your horizons.
They even recommended a couple of movies that capture that spirit of new beginnings, The Pursuit of Happiness and Julie and Julia.
Love those movies. Both great examples of how storytelling can inspire us.
Yeah, seeing those characters overcome obstacles and pursue their passions can be really motivating.
Especially at the start of a new year.
Totally. It's like a reminder that setbacks are inevitable, but you just got to keep going.
Exactly. And it ties back to what we were talking about with realistic goal setting, right?
Right.
Those films show that it's not always about achieving some perfect version of yourself.
Yeah,
It's more about the journey and learning from your mistakes.
I like that. Embracing the process.
And also recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to personal growth.
Oh, good point. What works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly. Each culture offers a different perspective, a different way of looking at things.
Right. Like instead of focusing on a strict diet this year, maybe we could borrow from Japan and prioritize mindfulness and inner peace.
I like that.
Or maybe we channel some of that Spanish energy and create a fun New Year's tradition of our own.
Exactly. It's all about expanding our horizons and finding what works for us.
So, as you're thinking about your own resolutions, listener,
Yeah.
what traditions resonate with you? What aspects of other cultures inspire you to, try something new?
Maybe a new daily ritual, a different way of thinking, or even a new recipe.
It's all about those little things that can add up to big changes.
And remember, we're not just celebrating the turning of a calendar page.
Right.
We're celebrating the possibilities that come with a fresh start.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless.
And those possibilities become even more exciting when we embrace the diversity of global perspectives.
I love that. It's a reminder that we're all in this together,
Exactly.
all striving for growth and renewal in our own unique ways. It really is amazing, though, isn't it?
What's that?
How New Year's is both this global thing,
Yeah.
but also super personal.
Absolutely.
It's a time for reflection, for celebration,
Yeah.
and for kind of like embracing the unknown with a sense of hope.
Yeah, I like that. Embracing the unknown.
And speaking of embracing the unknown,
Oh.
before we wrap up this deep dive, I
Right.
want to leave you with a thought-provoking question.
All right, I'm ready.
Something to ponder as you're raising a glass to the new year.
Hit me with it.
Okay, so imagine you could adopt one New Year's tradition from another culture.
Hmm.
Something that really speaks to you.
Okay,
Which one would you choose and why?
that's a good question.
Right. Would it be the fireworks in Sydney?
Ooh, maybe.
Or those grapes in Spain?
Could be fun.
Or the temple bells in Japan?
So many options.
Or maybe something else entirely?
Yeah, who knows?
Think about what resonates with you.
Yeah.
What aligns with your hopes for the coming year.
I like that.
And maybe, like, that tradition could even inspire a resolution,
Oh, interesting.
like learning more about that culture,
Uh-huh.
trying a new recipe,
I could get behind that.
or even planning a trip to experience it firsthand.
Now you're talking.
Because at the end of the day, it's not just about resolutions or traditions.
Right.
It's how those things connect to our deeper desires.
Yeah, our desires for growth, connection, meaning.
Exactly. And this whole deep dive has honestly given me a whole new perspective on New Year's.
Oh, yeah?
It's not just about a party or hitting the reset button. It's
Mhm.
like this global tapestry of traditions,
that.
each one reflecting a different cultural lens
Yeah.
on this universal human experience.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
And as we've seen, those traditions offer these really valuable insights into what different cultures value
Cool.
and how they approach life's transition.
Yeah, whether it's embracing joy
Mm-hmm.
or seeking peace and reflection.
Or just, sharing a meal with loved ones.
All important.
There's something to be learned from each approach.
Absolutely.
And maybe, just maybe, by kind of incorporating some of these global perspectives into our own New Year's celebrations,
Yeah,
we can create richer, more meaningful experiences for ourselves.
I think you're right.
So as you step into this new year, listener,
Yes, listener.
remember, you're not just starting a new chapter.
Right.
You're joining this global chorus of voices,
That's powerful.
all celebrating the promise of a fresh start.
Love it.
And from all of us here at the Deep Dive,
Yeah.
we wish you a very happy
And healthy.
and fulfilling new year.
Cheers to that.
May it be filled with exciting discoveries,
Uh-huh.
personal growth,
For sure.
and maybe even a few new traditions along the way.
Why not?
Happy New Year, everyone!
Happy New Year.